Hey guys, welcome back to the Joe Silverback Show. This is part 2 of pornography versus lovemaking. Pornography as an education for your child. Pornography as the sex education your child is primarily getting steeped in. I told you on the last part of the last video, I said I hope you're scared. I think of very, very few things that are as addicting as pornography. Forget about heroin, forget about methamphetamines, forget about barbiturates, forget about painkillers. Yeah, those are all powerfully physiologically addicting, and pornography is more powerful than all of them. So what I tried to do on the last segment of this was kind of touch upon this is what your boys and girls are growing up with, and so I wanna touch upon what I experienced with having 3 boys in my family, having girls as young as 13 years old, come up off the boardwalk and walk straight up to them and tell them that they want to give them blowjobs. I'm sorry, I don't know any other better way to put this. And I'm not talking about dirtbag girls that grew up in, trailer trash parks. I'm talking about middle to upper middle class to upper class girls from San Diego, from California, from Arizona, from all over the United States, who were so ballsy and so cheeky that they could they knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. Okay, so now let's fast forward to actually having some beers together and having some drinks together, maybe smoking some pot and beers, mixing it up, and then having sex together. Okay, so look, I'm not a moralist. I'm not. I'm an educator, and I'm deeply concerned about my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren's future in terms of forming a love bond, heart bond, marriage bond with somebody in their future whom they can take care of and feel good about taking care of, and who will take good care of them. But a big part of the taking care of somebody in the marriage and lifelong commitment together is the sexuality. And the sexuality is coming from pornography. So your 13-year-old, your 14-year-old, your 15-year-old, your 16-year-old, whatever you think he is when the first time he's experimenting with sexuality, and I mean, I'm sorry, there's just a very, very small percentage who abstain from sex from marriage, and I honor that idea very highly because it shows a discipline, but more importantly, because it shows an awareness. Maybe it doesn't even show that awareness. I'm aware of something, which is that that bond is so sacred and so special with one individual, that do we want it being destroyed, and how can we avoid it being destroyed before it even forms? So what I'm looking at is a drug user versus a non-drug user, a drug abuser versus a non-drug abuser. I'm looking at somebody who has gotten education from his parents and has educated himself, because the parents, there's just no way they're going to be able to, most of the time by themselves, handle this. The child has to come to, it has to, well, I shouldn't say that. The parents are going to be the forefront, okay? If you can push your child to play cello or violin for, 10 hours a week, if you can push your child to get straight A's to go into the top schools, if you can do anything to help your child achieve something, wake up and start thinking about how you can help your child achieve the heart bond with another human being whom he will eventually make love with, and how making love and having sex that becomes something more than pornography can be is like the glue to a marriage. So here's what I'm really frightened of. Watch the porn stars, both the males and the females, and just pretend, okay? Just pretend, okay? Especially you mothers, just pretend, because I know it can't be your child. Just pretend for a minute. Use your imagination that it is your child. And start pretending before your child is addicted and you can't do anything about it. Start having those conversations, because they're all growing up with this. So just pretend for a minute that that porn star, female or male, is your child. Knowing how to give an expert blowjob, knowing how to do expert cunnilingus, knowing how to be an expert at all kinds of different positions, knowing how to do, dominant S&M stuff. I mean, come on, guys. This is reality that our children are growing up in, and instead of just finding, it's just like take the phone away and make your child go up and talk to a girl. If it's, make your child go and talk to somebody, boy or girl, instead of texting their friend to text him, to text to say, hey, I want to hit up with you, Take some of that out, get back to the nature of human bonding, forming human bonds. And for any of those of you who are thinking about a future for your child who has any propensity and talent for the psychological field, this is going to be the future of counseling in our culture. Because children are growing up and adults are growing up not knowing how to bond anymore, not knowing how to pair bond. They don't even know how to talk to another adult, let alone another adolescent. And it's all starting in the home. So imagine for a moment that your son is a master cunnilingus performer. He's a master porn imitator. She's a master porn imitator. And they're practicing with each other. Your son with my daughter, my son with your daughter, your neighbors, etc., etc., etc. They're all practicing with each other. If you think these little Snapchat stuff is, horrible in terms of self-image and depression and anxiety, imagine the comparison at 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, how brutal people are. Well, she doesn't know how to give a good blowjob. She's no good. Well, he couldn't last that long. I mean, this is the shit that's going on. This is the shit that's going on. So how do you get around it? You've got to start talking about showing them the detrimental effects of how sex, just for machine sex, isn't love. And even take out love. Forget love for a minute, okay? That's so complicated in and of itself, romantic love. It's not respect. How can we bring respect into the bedroom when 99% of the education is objective objectification of sexuality that's imprinted in the early adolescent brain. I am so relieved that my 19-year-old is in a relationship now, and he's fallen in love, and she's in love, and they care about each other, and they bleed over each other, and it's it's a whole nother problem. But prior to that, you know, he was in the hookup world, and anyone could get a hookup with anybody, and by the time they get into college, man, it's just like, okay, take a ticket, let's have a hookup. Now, I'm not against sexual exploration in the late teens and early 20s years. I shouldn't say that. I don't know how to answer that question. What I only know how to answer is, how do we help them find partners who are going to care about each other if they're just fucking like rabbits. And if fucking like rabbits doesn't have a component of consideration or care for the future of anything, which it doesn't in pornography, and it doesn't in what your child and my child is learning. Now, kudos to you if you belong to a religion, but then there's also all kinds of complexities there. And I'm sorry, I met too many Mormon girls, too many Jewish girls, too many Catholic girls, too many fundamentalist Christian girls. At that time in my college years, there were hardly any Muslims that I encountered in my life, so I can't say, that was part of it. But all the guys that I grew up with, all of them, it was just about how long did it take to break down the fundamentalist Christian girl or the Jew, different religions have different viewpoints on sexuality, and from, let's say, 16 to 24, maybe even a little bit earlier, 14 to 24. The hormones are raging, and the feminine hormones are raging just as much as the male hormones, and they might be raging for slightly different things, but ultimately they are raging for bonding and closeness. And our job is to bridge the gap between machine sexuality and pornographic mastery with full human caring about an individual. So I would slap my boy in the head over and over and over again, and he would tell me, he's the most caring of all his friends. And I would tell him he's just a dumb kid who doesn't think about the other. And how do you do this behavior and then tell me that you are being, that you care? So that has to be drummed in, guys. And if there's anybody out there that doesn't think that you should care about the person that your child is having sex with, or you shouldn't care about who the adult child or the adult you and me are having sex with, don't watch this show. Either that or come online and let's have a discussion about this, because I want this to be a public discourse where we can talk about human feelings and feeling good about ourselves, especially in our sexuality. Sexuality is a very, very special part of the mating process and the pair bonding process. And you could say that humping like rabbits is a way to practice it, but you can't ever tell me that anything in pornography is anything close or remotely close to helping somebody learn how to bond. If you're an adult who doesn't care about pair bonding, that's your business. If you're an adult who doesn't care about pair bonding and you don't care about it for children, that's my business. Okay, that's the Protector Silverback. Namaste.